everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a little while since I last filmed. I've had a busy month. I've had a birthday and my son graduated from Chico State, so we've been kind of preoccupied with all that. So anyway, this one I wanted to do because it's kind of a safety thing as far as the front suspension goes on the 108, 109. Let me come in closer on this one. This is from the 6.3 and I'll show you what we've got going. First of all, like I say, this is from the 6.3. This is a wee bit dusty at the moment. This has been all painted up in preparation for going back on the car. Now, this is the front side. Obviously, this is your subframe mount. This extra plate here is a spacer plate that's unique to the 6.3 to gain some extra room inside the engine bay for the larger motor. So this isn't there on the 108 models with the smaller engines. So anyway, so engine mounts, the subframe mount's pretty straightforward. These bolts bolt down from the top into the mounting plate here, and then this carrier bolt here goes through straight into the subframe fixture here and is bolted in there. And this has got kind of a shallow cup here. And this is all, I think they call this like vulcanized rubber or something, and this obviously improves the ride and makes it all spongy and all that good stuff. So over the years, obviously these degenerate and degrade and need replacing, but it's a common one to get neglected because it's tucked up under there and it's a slow degradation, and they often get ignored. The engine mounts not so much, but they also get ignored as well. But anyway, so what I'm showing you is that's the configuration. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but that's how it goes. So that's bolted on there. Okay, so what I'm going to show you next is something that will give you pause for thought, and I'm sure make you want to go and check your own subframe mounts, especially the mounting bolt. This is not the only connection point from the body of the car to the subframe. Obviously you've got the shock absorber, you've got the kind of forward leaf type springs that come at the front here, you've got sway bar bushings, all that stuff connects it. But this is a real vital section of connection from the front axle, and namely the engine that sits here, to the car. So just bear that in mind, okay? And bear in mind, this is vulcanized rubber to give you a good ride. So what I'm going to show you next, I think you'll find quite shocking. I shot a video some time ago about when you go to lift one of these cars, the 108, 111s, 109s, they're often on jack stands on the two subframes underneath the car. There's legs that go down, and you want the jacks underneath those two. And with the front hanging, with the whole motor pushing down on that subframe, you see, you're putting an awful lot of stress, as I see it, on these subframe mounts. And you can imagine this subframe mount attached here and then attached to the body. All of that stretching action is on this vulcanized rubber here, you see. Now you can see here this bolt takes over. Okay, so to mount this, I put a jack under the subframe, remove that center bolt, and then put this locking plate in. So essentially it locks the suspension to the subframe, to the main leg here, and locks it and takes the stress off of the subframe mounts. Now, while I was doing that, I did that basically because I wanted to inspect the bolts and then kind of plan my attack of replacing the subframes and the engine mounts that are down here. I've got some good quality Lemforder engine mounts that I want to replace. That'll be in an upcoming video. While doing that, I removed the bolts here. This was from the driver's side. Pretty rusty, pretty gnarly looking, showing some corrosion. Make sure we're in focus here. Showing some typical corrosion, I guess, been in there a while, isn't it? So, okay, but not really horrendous, kind of typical. So, that's that one. This came off this side. Now, let me show you this horror story, and this is what the main reason for the video. Let me zoom in and focus. look at that. Look at the corrosion on there. And see that skinny area there? I don't know what's gone on there, whence this is in position. Now, bearing in mind this is a 4.5 under the battery tray, okay? I'm thinking battery acid has leaked and wicked down this bolt and literally eaten it away over the years. And one gentleman on the group said that because it's difficult to show you in the video, but there are threads in there, and he's wondering whether it's been over torqued, over tightened. That's one possibility, I guess, or that this was just sitting in a pool of battery acid and it tended to eat away more at that point. I'm really not sure exactly what happened there, but look at the state of that. So going by what I've showed you on the subframe in the other room there, you can imagine if that had snapped, you'd be in a world of hurt. And I have really no idea exactly what would happen. As I say, there are other connection points, but it wouldn't be good. So to check these, you don't need any fancy jacks or anything. The car can be sitting right on the ground, okay? No jacking up. And you can take that center bolt right out. Need a 19mm socket. Don't need a deep socket really, but a 19mm socket. Take this guy out and give it an inspection, and if it's looking as bad as that, you're obviously going to want to change it out. Just for comparison, I wanted to show you new against old here. It's a new one on the left, completely eaten away there. So get under there and check yours. Now another thing I wanted to talk about in conjunction with this, so as you know, in this design here, this is kind of a well here. It's kind of vulnerable for moisture, pine needles, all rubbish to build up down there. Puddles of water sit there and just wick down on these bolts. So I'm not sure whether all 108s or Pagodas or whatever came with the cover plates. They're plastic cover plates that cover this completely. So no water gets in there, or very little can. And that would alleviate this issue as far as I can see. So you might want to look into getting some cover plates here once you've checked your subframe mounts. That's one thing. They're not very expensive. You can get them from NB Classics for about 25 bucks for the pair, I think. Before I finish up this video, that's mainly to do with this subframe, but here is obviously the location of the steering pump, the reservoir and all that good stuff. And I took that off to service it and reseal it because it had an ongoing leak for some period of time I wanted to get to. It's making a god-awful mess down here. So here is the inlet fuel line here, and as you can see there's no rubber hose on it, and this is where it connects to. The reason there's no rubber hose on it is because I removed it there, and also this cable here was chafing against the handbrake cable. And this was rubbing so much so on that fuel line, it made a little divot, and possibly 6 more months or something like that, I would have had a burst fuel line from the cable rubbing on the fuel line. So make sure you reroute this, bend it any which way and reroute the fuel line. So check underneath your steering reservoir to see if you've got the same issue, because this fuel line does run across here. It straddles this area, so you might want to check that. I don't know whether it'll be the next video, but in upcoming videos I'm going to be showing you replacing those subframe mounts, and also at the same time I'm going to change out the engine mounts. Some years ago I changed the mounts when I first got this car. And before I knew better, I bought Euro mounts, and they're just junk, and they lasted, well, really I think they probably started failing after about 5-6 years, and this is an unused one. See how proud that is. The ones in there right now have collapsed completely down, and so I want to get these Lemforder ones here that I bought from a guy off the 108 109 group on Facebook, and we'll get those on there. Bearing in mind it's got the red dot. I believe that's for the passenger side, for the torque side of the engine, and my plan is essentially to keep the engine in place and disconnect the relevant pieces from the subframe, steering knuckles, probably take the brake calipers off, and lower the whole subframe enough to remove the subframe mounts and gain access, good access for these mounts. We'll do it all in one, so to speak. I'm going to come up with a game plan to do that, and I'll obviously shoot a video of that. And also I want to do, you know, just in the checking all the valve clearances on the top here, checking our oiler tube for the cam lobes. I did that some years back, but we'll have a look at it anyway. And also check the timing chain as well, make sure that's within spec, and if I've got any doubts I'll chuck a new timing chain in this, and then this will be good to go. Please hit like, share, subscribe guys. I really appreciate all your comments. Yeah, give me some input of what you think about these subframe mounts. Something that got past me. I should have tackled it a long time ago, but thankfully to this damage, I dug in here and was able to discover it. So hopefully if you go out there and check yours aren't as bad as mine. Alright, take care guys, see you in the next one. Bye bye.